10 signs that God has already changed your life.
The silence that speaks.
There is a silence that feels like it could break you. You kneel in prayer, you pour out your heart, you wait night after night, and what you hear in return is nothing. No clear answer, no visible sign, no dramatic shift in your circumstances. At first, it feels like emptiness. It feels like heaven has closed its doors and left you standing outside in the cold. Yet this silence, though heavy, is not meaningless. It carries a language of its own, a voice that cannot be heard with the ears but only with the heart. The silence of God is not proof of His absence. It is evidence that He is working in ways you cannot yet grasp. It is the waiting room before a miracle, the dark soil where new life is secretly breaking open. Imagine a child asking the same question over and over again to a wise father.
The father does not rush to answer, not because he ignores the child, but because he knows that the child must grow into the answer. Sometimes the silence is the greatest teacher. It forces you to search deeper, to listen more closely, to let go of the noise around you and discover the quiet certainty within. The silence of God pushes you into the hidden places where faith is not a theory, but a lifeline. You begin to realize that faith is not built on the constant sound of reassurance, but on the ability to trust even when there is no sound at all. Think of the seed that lies buried in darkness. It is unseen, uncelebrated, and silent. Yet beneath the soil, roots are spreading, life is moving, and something new is forming. The farmer does not dig up the seed every day to check if it is alive, because he knows that silence is part of the process. He trusts the hidden work beneath the earth. In the same way, when your life feels buried in quiet seasons, when you see no movement and hear no voice, God is not absent. He is rooting you deeper, anchoring you stronger, and preparing you for growth that will break through at the right time. This silence can be painful because it collides with our desire for instant answers. We want God to respond as quickly as we ask. We want clarity the moment we pray. But if God spoke every time on our timetable, we would never learn to lean into His timing. We would treat Him like a machine that dispenses answers instead of the living God who shapes our hearts. The silence teaches us to value not just the answer, but the one who gives it. It teaches us to hunger not for quick solutions, but for lasting transformation. Many people misunderstand the silence. They mistake it for rejection. They believe unanswered prayers mean forgotten prayers.
They carry the weight of disappointment and assume God has turned His face away. But silence is not rejection, it is redirection. It is God protecting you from paths you cannot yet walk. It is Him waiting for the moment when His answer will bless you instead of break you. What feels like a closed door is often God keeping you safe until the right door is ready to open. There are seasons where silence stretches on for months, even years, and your heart aches with the question, "Lord, where are you?" It is in these very seasons that the foundation of your faith is forged. Without silence, trust would remain shallow. With silence, trust grows strong. The silence removes the crutches of certainty and forces you to stand firm on what you believe, not on what you see. And when the silence finally breaks, the voice of God resounds with greater power, because you have been prepared to hear it. The silence of God is never empty. It is filled with hidden purpose. He is not wasting time, He is weaving time. He is aligning circumstances, shaping people, and preparing you for a future that requires a stronger version of you than the one standing in the present. You may not see it, but He is already moving pieces into place. You may not hear it, but He is already composing the melody of your breakthrough. Silence is not absence, it is orchestration. So if you find yourself in this place right now, do not despise the silence. Let it train your ears to hear whispers instead of shouts. Let it train your heart to trust the unseen instead of the visible. Let it remind you that God is not far. He is closer than ever, working in the shadows, preparing a dawn you cannot imagine. The silence that seems unbearable today will become the testimony you share tomorrow. You will look back and realize that in the quietest season, God was doing the loudest work. This is the first sign that God is about to change your life. When His voice seems hidden, when His hand seems withdrawn, it is because He is preparing to reveal Himself in a way that will shake you to your core. The silence is not punishment. The silence is preparation. And the moment you embrace it as such, you will begin to see that it is not empty at all. It is the sound of God working behind the veil, getting ready to move in your life in a way greater than you have ever seen before. The sacred discomfort. There comes a moment when the life you once prayed for no longer feels like enough. The routines that used to bring comfort now seem too small. The job that once gave you pride feels heavy. The circle of friends that once satisfied your heart begins to drain you. Something inside you whispers that you cannot stay where you are, even though nothing on the outside has yet changed. That is sacred discomfort. It is not restlessness without cause. It is God stirring your spirit so you will not settle for less than the destiny He has prepared for you. When God is about to move you forward, He often removes the sweetness from your current place. What once was satisfying becomes bitter. What once filled you now leaves you empty. You wake up and sense that there must be more, and this sense will not leave you alone. Many resist this feeling, trying to silence it by distracting themselves with work, entertainment, or routine. But the discomfort remains because it is not a human emotion. It is a divine signal. It is heaven's way of telling you that the chapter you are in is coming to an end. Sacred discomfort is not meant to destroy your peace. It is meant to redirect it.
If God allowed you to feel fully comfortable in a place that could no longer hold your growth, you would never move. We naturally cling to what is familiar, even when it no longer serves us. But when the comfort fades, when the room feels too small, when the season feels too tight, God is saying, it is time to step out. Think of the eaglet in the nest. The mother stirs the nest, removes the soft feathers, and leaves the sharp sticks. The eaglet is forced to stretch its wings because the comfort is gone. In the same way, God sometimes makes your nest uncomfortable so that you will dare to fly. This discomfort can be misunderstood. People around you may say you should be grateful, that others would love to have what you have. And they are right, but gratitude does not mean stagnation. Gratitude honors what God has done, but sacred discomfort prepares you for what He will do next. It is not ingratitude to feel the call to more. It is faith recognizing that God has planted something greater within you. The signs of this discomfort often appear quietly at first. You may feel restless at night, sensing a shift but unable to name it. Conversations that once excited you now feel shallow. Projects that once energized you now leave you drained. You may even try to reignite the old fire, but it will not burn as before. That is because the fuel was never meant to last forever. God gave it for one season, and now He is calling you into another. Sacred discomfort is also a shield. It prevents you from wasting your life in spaces that no longer carry His anointing for you. It awakens you to the reality that there is more territory to claim, more purpose to live, more of His presence to encounter. Without it, you might grow complacent and settle into a life that falls short of His promise. With it, you are driven forward, not by ambition, but by divine urging.
Do not despise the discomfort. Embrace it as a holy sign. It means God has seen your growth and knows you are ready for a new level. It means that what lies ahead will require courage, and He is preparing you now by making sure you cannot remain where you are. The irritation you feel, the sense of being out of place, is proof that heaven is nudging you forward. If you feel this sacred discomfort pressing on your soul, pay attention. God is not abandoning you. He is promoting you. He is making the old space too small so that you will step into the new space He has already prepared. You may not yet know what it looks like, but the fact that you can no longer stay as you are is the very evidence that change is near. This is the second sign that God is about to change your life. When the ground beneath your feet no longer feels steady, when the place you once called home no longer fits. It is God moving you from what was into what will be. The discomfort is not your enemy. It is your compass pointing you toward the next chapter of your destiny, the time that accelerates. There are seasons in life when everything moves slowly, where prayers seem unanswered and doors stay shut for months or even years. Then, without warning, the rhythm changes. Suddenly, opportunities come one after another. People you have been waiting to meet appear at the right moment. Delays dissolve, and what felt like years of waiting begins to unfold in days or even hours. That is the time that accelerates, a clear signal that God has shifted you into His divine momentum. When God accelerates time, it is not random. It is the result of unseen preparation. While you thought nothing was happening, He was aligning circumstances, building your character and preparing the resources you would need. Then when everything is ready, He releases it at once like a floodgate opening after a long drought. To you, it feels sudden, but in heaven it was planned all along. The speed shocks you because you forgot how long He had been working behind the scenes. This acceleration is not just about external circumstances. It also happens inside of you. Suddenly, understanding comes quickly. Lessons that once took years to grasp are revealed in a moment. Your heart heals faster than you thought possible. Clarity arrives, and decisions that once left you paralyzed become clear and urgent. It is as if the Spirit of God breathes on you, moving you forward at a pace you could never have achieved on your own. When this season comes, you may feel overwhelmed. Blessings arrive before you have time to process them. The very things you thought would take years begin to manifest in a single season. This is why acceleration is not only a gift but also a test. It forces you to rely on God more deeply than ever before, because the speed of change leaves no room for control. You must trust Him in every step, knowing that if He opened the door, He will also equip you to walk through it. Many miss the blessing of accelerated time because they resist it. They want God to move, but when He does, they hesitate, questioning whether they are ready. But acceleration does not wait for perfect readiness. It demands obedience in motion. When God accelerates, you cannot cling to the old pace. You must move at His speed, or you will miss what He is unfolding. It is not comfortable, but it is miraculous. Think of Joseph in Egypt. One day he was in prison, forgotten and alone. The next day he was summoned before Pharaoh, and within hours he became second in command of the nation. That is divine acceleration. Years of suffering were redeemed in a single moment. What seemed impossible suddenly became undeniable. That same God is able to take your years of waiting and turn them into a day of breakthrough that changes everything. Acceleration also requires discernment. Not every opportunity is from God, and not every open door is meant for you. When the pace quickens, you must stay anchored in prayer and scripture, asking for clarity in every step. The enemy can also send distractions disguised as opportunities, but the true acceleration of God will bring peace in the midst of the speed. It will stretch you, but it will not break you. It will challenge you, but it will not confuse you. His acceleration always aligns with His character and His purpose. If you sense that doors are opening one after another, if you feel that your life is suddenly moving faster than you expected, do not fear. Embrace it. It is a sign that the waiting season has ended, and the harvest season has begun. Do not waste time questioning why it is happening now. Trust the God who holds all time in His hands. He knows the exact moment when acceleration will bring blessing instead of burden. This is the third sign that God is about to change your life.
When everything begins to speed up, when prayers long held are suddenly answered, when progress comes in waves instead of drops, it is proof that heaven has shifted your pace. The time that accelerates is not chaos, it is confirmation. It is God showing you that His promises are not late, they are right on schedule. What once moved slowly now moves quickly because the time to step into your new season has arrived. The wind of losses. There are times when life suddenly takes away what you thought you could never lose. A relationship ends without explanation. A job you counted on disappears. A door you believed would always remain open slams shut. In those moments, Loss feels like betrayal, like the ground beneath your feet has given way. Yet what feels like a storm meant to destroy you is often a divine wind sent to clear your path. Losses are not always punishment. Many times, they are preparation. They are not the end of your story, but the necessary shaking that makes space for what God is about to place in your life. We hold tightly to people, positions, and possessions because they make us feel secure. But God sees when those very things become obstacles to our growth. He knows when a relationship is holding us back, when a job is chaining us to mediocrity, or when possessions are distracting us from our purpose. And because He loves us too much to leave us stuck, He allows the wind of losses to blow. That wind hurts, but it is holy. It is not meant to destroy you, but to push you forward into a life you would never step into on your own. Think of how a tree is pruned. Branches that seem strong are cut away. At first, the tree looks bare and broken, as if something vital has been taken. But the gardener knows what the tree cannot see. The pruning will make it bear more fruit. The loss of branches is not death, but preparation for abundance. In the same way, when God prunes your life through loss, it is not to reduce you, but to enlarge you. What feels like subtraction is often multiplication in disguise. Loss also reveals where your trust truly lies. When the wind blows and strips away what you thought you needed, you discover whether your foundation is built on shifting sand or solid rock. If your identity was rooted in what you had, then loss will crush you. But if your identity is rooted in who holds you, then loss will refine you. Painful seasons expose the truth. Nothing is permanent except God. People may leave, jobs may vanish, possessions may fade, but His presence remains unshaken. The wind of losses often comes before the birth of something greater. Abraham had to leave his homeland before God revealed the promised land. Ruth lost her husband before she stepped into the lineage of kings.
The disciples left everything before they followed Christ. Loss was not the end for any of them. It was the doorway to destiny, and the same is true for you. The loss that broke your heart may be the very thing that clears the space for God to place something better in your hands. Do not confuse the loss of comfort with the loss of purpose. Purpose does not leave when people walk away. Destiny is not canceled when jobs end. God does not abandon you when doors close. On the contrary, He uses those very losses to redirect you toward the place where His blessing waits. Sometimes the door you wanted was too small for the life He is preparing. Sometimes the person you thought was essential would have weakened the journey ahead. Sometimes the position you longed to keep would have trapped you in a season beneath your calling. Loss feels cruel in the moment, but in time you will see that it was mercy disguised. The wind of losses also teaches you to hold lightly to everything except God. When you realize how fragile everything else is, you learn to cling more tightly to Him. That shift in trust is what prepares you for greater responsibility, because He cannot give you more if you are going to worship the gift instead of the giver. The stripping reminds you that your hope must rest in what cannot be taken away. This is the fourth sign that God is about to change your life. When loss sweeps through like a wind you did not invite, do not despair. It may be painful now, but it is often the surest signal that God is removing what cannot remain in your future. The wind that seems to scatter is the same wind that carries you into your next season. Losses are not the end. They are the beginning of something new, something greater, something only God could prepare. The awakening of hope. There are seasons when hope seems to die. You prayed for change, but nothing shifted. You believed for healing, but pain lingered. You waited for breakthrough, but silence stretched on. Slowly, hope withered, and you convinced yourself it was safer not to expect anything at all. Then, out of nowhere, something stirs inside you again. A spark you thought was gone begins to glow. The dream you buried rises in your heart. That sudden stirring is not wishful thinking. It is the awakening of hope. A sign that God is breathing life back into what you thought was finished. Hope does not return on its own. It is planted by the Spirit of God at the exact moment He knows you are ready to believe again. You may not see the full picture yet, but your heart begins to beat with expectation. You feel an unexplainable conviction that better days are near, that inner fire is not an illusion. It is God whispering that your waiting was not wasted, that the dry season has run its course, and that something new is about to rise. This awakening is subtle at first. You find yourself smiling for no reason. You wake with fresh energy, even if nothing in your circumstances has changed. You hear a word, a verse, or even a song, and it resonates with power, as if it were written just for you. You sense that God is closer, that your prayers are being carried, that His hand is moving even if you cannot trace it. These small shifts are the early signs of something greater. Hope begins as a seed long before it grows into visible fruit. The awakening of hope often comes right after the deepest despair. That is not coincidence. God allows hope to return at the very place where hopelessness tried to destroy you, because that is where His glory shines brightest. Just as He brought life back to Sarah's womb when it seemed impossible, just as He resurrected Lazarus after everyone said it was too late, He awakens hope in the ruins of your impossibility. That is His way of showing that what was dead is not beyond His power to restore. This kind of hope is different from human optimism. Optimism depends on circumstances, but divine hope is anchored in God Himself. It says, "I do not know how or when, but I know He will." It gives strength in weakness and courage in fear. It carries you when nothing else does. And once this hope takes root, no loss, no delay, and no voice of doubt can silence it. It becomes a force inside you that keeps you standing when everything else says to give up. The awakening of hope is also a preparation. God does not awaken hope just to make you feel good. He awakens it to ready you for what He is about to release. The return of expectation in your spirit means that heaven is aligning events on your behalf. It is the announcement that the waiting season is closing and the birthing season is approaching. You do not feel it by accident. You feel it because God is signaling that His promise is drawing near. If you sense this stirring inside you, pay attention. Do not dismiss it as emotion. Do not push it away with cynicism. Lean into it. Feed it with prayer. Strengthen it with the Word. Protect it from voices that would try to suffocate it. Hope is fragile at first, but once it grows, it becomes unshakable. What you thought would never return is now rising, and it is proof that God is not finished with your story. This is the fifth sign that God is about to change your life. When hope that was buried begins to breathe again, when expectation rises in your soul without clear reason, it is not coincidence.
It is God awakening you to the reality that your new season is closer than you think. The dream you thought was gone forever is not gone. It is alive, and it is about to unfold before your eyes in a way that will leave no doubt that God Himself has done it. The strange recognition. There are moments when words come from unexpected lips and pierce your heart with clarity. A stranger says something in passing that mirrors the very prayer you whispered the night before. A conversation with someone you barely know confirms what you had been struggling to believe. A book falls open at the exact passage that speaks to your situation. These are not accidents. They are divine interruptions. This is the strange recognition, when God uses unfamiliar voices to affirm that He has heard you and that you are walking on the path He has chosen. The strange recognition often comes when doubt is loudest. You may have prayed for a sign, asking God to show you something, anything, that He has not forgotten you. Then a person you have never met shares a story that reflects your own, or an offhand comment lands like a direct answer to your plea. The natural mind calls it coincidence, but the Spirit knows it is confirmation. God chooses the most unexpected vessels so that you will recognize His hand and not confuse it with human orchestration. This recognition is not always grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as hearing the same phrase repeated in different places in a short span of time, or as mysterious as someone describing your private struggle without knowing anything about you. The power of these moments is not in the messenger, but in the message. God is reminding you that He is attentive, that your cries did not vanish into silence, and that He can reach you anywhere, through anyone. Such experiences humble us. We realize that the God who created galaxies is still willing to send a word through ordinary people to strengthen our fragile hearts. It shows that his sovereignty is not distant but intimate, woven into the smallest details of our lives. When recognition comes in strange ways, it awakens awe. You sense that heaven is closer than you thought, that the veil between the divine and the human is thinner than it appears. This strange recognition also challenges your faith.
It forces you to admit that God can move beyond your expectations. You may believe he will only speak through certain voices, leaders, or environments. But when he uses someone you would never expect, it breaks your limitations. It teaches you to stay alert, because his confirmation may arrive in the most surprising package. In those moments, you learn to listen not only with ears, but with spirit, ready to catch the whisper of God even in ordinary conversations. These encounters are not meant to replace Scripture or the voice of the Spirit within you. They are not shortcuts to guidance. Instead, they are gentle affirmations that align with what God has already been stirring in your heart. They bring courage where fear was winning and peace where uncertainty was heavy. They do not introduce new directions but confirm the ones you already sensed but doubted. That is why they feel so powerful. They echo the truth you already carried inside, but needed to hear aloud. If you have experienced this, you know the feeling. It stops you in your tracks. It brings tears to your eyes. You think, how could they know? And the answer is that they don't. Only God does. He chose that moment, that person, that word, to let you know he is with you. The recognition is strange precisely so you will know it is him and not coincidence. This is the sixth sign that God is about to change your life. When strangers confirm your prayers, when unexpected voices echo the desires of your heart, it is not random. It is heaven breaking into your everyday life to assure you that you are not walking blindly. God is guiding your steps, affirming your path, and reminding you that no prayer escapes his notice. The strange recognition is not chance. It is divine confirmation that you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The hunger for the invisible. There are seasons when ordinary routines no longer satisfy your soul. Entertainment loses its appeal. Conversations feel shallow, and even successes seem empty. Instead, a deep pull rises within you to seek God in ways you never did before. You wake with a desire to pray, not because of duty, but because of longing. You feel compelled to open the Scriptures, as if there is a treasure waiting on every page. You sense that fasting is not just discipline, but invitation. This is the hunger for the invisible, a sign that the Spirit of God is drawing you into deeper intimacy, because a new season is approaching. This hunger cannot be manufactured. It is not born from guilt or from trying harder to be spiritual. It is a fire God himself ignites in the soul. He awakens thirst when he knows that living water is near. He stirs hunger when he is ready to feed you with a revelation that will sustain you in the days ahead. The invisible begins to matter more than the visible, and eternity weighs heavier on your heart than the present moment. This hunger often appears after a long period of dryness. Just when you thought your spiritual life had grown numb, something shifts inside you. A song brings you to tears. A verse grips you as if it were written for this exact moment. In prayer, you sense a nearness that you had not felt in months. This is not coincidence. It is preparation. God awakens desire in you because he is preparing to pour himself out in fresh ways. When this hunger comes, it can disrupt your normal life. Friends may not understand why you withdraw from distractions. Colleagues may not see why your priorities change. To them, it may look like withdrawal, but in reality, it is pursuit. You are not losing interest in life. You are gaining interest in what gives life meaning. You are being drawn away from shallow waters and invited into the depths of God's presence. This hunger is also protection. Before a major change, God knows you will need stronger faith, deeper roots, and clearer discernment. He calls you closer, not just to bless you, but to anchor you for what is to come. He knows storms will test you, and he prepares you by strengthening your connection with him now. The hunger is his way of ensuring that when change arrives, you will not be shaken. because you will already be rooted in his presence. The hunger for the invisible is not just about personal growth, it is about alignment. God is aligning your heart with his will. He is fine-tuning your spirit to hear his voice more clearly. He is giving you the capacity to carry the blessing he is about to release. Without that hunger, you would not be ready for the weight of the new season. With it, you will be equipped to step into promises without losing yourself in the process. If you feel this hunger growing, do not ignore it. Respond to it. Set aside moments to pray, even if short. Open your Bible expecting that God will speak. Fast not just from food, but from distractions that steal your focus. The more you feed this hunger, the more it will grow, and the more prepared you will be for what God is doing. This is the seventh sign that God is about to change your life.
When a holy hunger rises within you, when the invisible becomes more real than the visible, it is not by chance. It is the Spirit drawing you close, preparing you for a transformation that requires intimacy with Him. Do not resist it. Lean into it. Because the hunger for the invisible is proof that heaven is about to release something greater into your life. The chaos that organizes. There are times when everything around you seems to collapse all at once. Plans that felt certain fall apart. Finances tighten without warning. People you relied on step away. Your calendar fills with unexpected problems and nothing seems stable. At first glance, it looks like pure chaos, as if life has spun out of control. But beneath that storm, God is quietly organizing. What feels like disorder is often His way of dismantling what no longer serves your future, so that He can rebuild on stronger ground. Chaos is not always the enemy. Sometimes it is the tool heaven uses to shake you free from what you would never release by choice. If God allowed you to keep every comfort, you might cling to a life too small for the destiny He has prepared. But when the pieces scatter, when the structures collapse, you are forced to let go. The chaos tears down the old order, not to leave you in ruins, but to make space for a greater design. It is like a renovation. The walls must come down before the new foundation can be set. This reordering can be painful. We crave stability, and when it is stripped away, fear rises. You ask, why now? Why all at once? Yet what you see as loss of control is actually God taking control. He is removing what you could not see was hindering you. He is closing paths that would have trapped you. He is shaking loose habits, routines, and relationships that no longer carry His purpose for your life. The storm is violent, but its intention is holy. Look closely, and you will notice that chaos often clears the path. That friendship that ended frees you from compromise. That job you lost pushes you toward a calling you were ignoring. That plan that failed protects you from investing years in something that was never meant to succeed. At the time, it feels like devastation, but later you see it for what it is: mercy. Mercy that tore down the fragile so you could stand on the unshakable. Chaos also reorganizes your priorities. It forces you to ask hard questions. What truly matters? Where have I been wasting time? What have I been holding above God? In the rubble of broken plans, you rediscover the essentials: faith, family, purpose, and the presence of God. The things you once thought were urgent fade, and the eternal comes into sharper focus. That clarity is not born in calm, but in crisis. This organizing chaos is often the final step before breakthrough.
Just as the earth trembles before new life emerges, your world may shake before God reveals His plan. The storm is not a sign that you are forgotten. It is a sign that heaven is realigning everything to prepare for your next season. And though it feels unstable, the outcome will be peace. Out of the mess will rise a structure you could never have built on your own. If you are living through chaos now, take heart. Do not mistake it for destruction. See it as divine disruption. God is not trying to harm you, He is trying to free you. He is not abandoning you, He is rebuilding you. The same hands that allow the storm are the hands that hold you steady within it. Trust that when the dust settles, you will see order where there was once confusion, purpose where there was once pain, and strength where there was once weakness. This is the eighth sign that God is about to change your life. When chaos floods your days, when what seems secure suddenly collapses, it is not proof that God has left. It is evidence that He is preparing a new order. The chaos that frightens you today is the very process that will position you tomorrow. Do not fear the shaking. Embrace it. Because when God allows chaos, it is always to organize your life for His greater plan. The weight of the mission. There comes a moment when your heart begins to ache for something greater than yourself. You can no longer ignore the pull toward a cause, a group of people, or a need that stirs you to the core. It feels like a burden, heavy yet sacred, pressing on your soul with urgency. That weight is not guilt or pressure from others. It is the weight of the mission, a divine signal that God is entrusting you with a role in His greater plan. This weight is different from ordinary responsibility. It is not about deadlines, tasks, or obligations. It is about calling. You wake up thinking about it, go to sleep still carrying it, and in between you feel it shaping your decisions. You cannot shrug it off, because it is not yours to abandon. It is placed by God, and with it comes a deep sense of both urgency and reverence. The weight feels heavy, but it is also strangely life-giving, because it tells you that your life has purpose beyond survival. The mission may not come with a loud announcement. Often it begins quietly. You notice the pain of others more deeply than before. You see injustice and cannot remain indifferent. You sense that your gifts and experiences were not given by accident, but to serve in ways that matter eternally. And though it feels bigger than you know deep down that God would not place it on your shoulders unless He had also placed strength within you to carry it. Carrying the weight of the mission does not mean you have all the answers. In fact, it often leaves you feeling unqualified. You may think, who am I to step into this? I am not ready, I am not capable. Yet that humility is part of the calling. God never looks for the most capable, but for the most willing. The weight is a reminder that this is not about your power, but His. What He places on your life, He also promises to sustain. This burden transforms how you see your life. The things that once felt important shrink. Comfort loses its grip. Temporary pleasures fade in comparison to the eternal task you sense rising within you. You begin to value obedience over applause, service over status, and faithfulness over recognition. The mission rewires your heart, teaching you that the measure of your life is not in what you accumulate, but in what you give. The weight is also a form of preparation. God presses it on you before He fully reveals the assignment, because the burden softens your heart and sharpens your focus. Without the weight, you would not be ready for the responsibility. With it, you are drawn into deeper prayer, deeper reliance, deeper surrender. The weight trains you to depend on God daily, because you know you cannot carry it alone. This mission may call you into places you never expected. It may lead you to people who test your patience, environments that stretch your courage, and tasks that require sacrifice.
But with every step, you discover that the burden you feared becomes the blessing you cherish. For in carrying it, you walk in the center of God's purpose, and there is no greater fulfillment than knowing you are exactly where He wants you to be. This is the ninth sign that God is about to change your life. When a holy weight presses on your heart, when you feel an unshakable pull towards serving a cause greater than yourself, it is not random. It is God marking you with His mission. The heaviness is not there to crush you, but to commission you. The weight of the mission is heaven's way of declaring that your life is meant for impact, and that a new season of purpose is unfolding before your eyes. The unlikely encounter. There are moments when you cross paths with someone you were never supposed to meet, at least not by human planning. A conversation with a stranger leads to an open door. A chance meeting becomes a divine connection. What looks like coincidence is, in truth, providence. These are the unlikely encounters, moments when God interrupts your ordinary routine to align you with people who will shape your destiny. The power of these encounters lies in their timing. They rarely come when you expect them. They happen in grocery stores, on a delayed flight, in a hallway you almost didn't walk down, They come through introductions you did not seek, friendships you never planned, and words you never thought you needed to hear. And yet, when they arrive, you feel the weight of heaven in them. Something inside you whispers, "This meeting matters." That sense is not imagination. It is God confirming that He orchestrated the connection for a purpose greater than you can see in the moment. Unlikely encounters are God's way of accelerating His plan in your life. You may have prayed for years for an answer, only for it to come through a person you never knew existed until now. That mentor, that friend, that opportunity bearer arrives not because you were lucky, but because God placed you in their path. He knew where you would be. He knew where they would be. And He aligned the steps so that your lives would intersect at the exact moment needed. These encounters are not always about immediate blessing. Sometimes they are about planting seeds for the future. A single word of encouragement can echo for years. A contact made casually can open doors long after you forgot the meeting happened. A friendship formed in unlikely ways can one day become the bridge to your next season. That is why you must pay attention. What seems ordinary may carry eternal weight. The beauty of these encounters is that they often break the limits of your imagination.
You may believe your future depends on the people you already know, but God's plan is not bound by your circle. He brings voices from outside, perspectives you never expected, resources you could not produce. He proves that your destiny is not held by human hands but by His. That stranger could become a partner in your calling. That unexpected friend could speak the very word you needed. That random introduction could be the door to the very place God has been leading you. When you reflect on your life, you will likely notice that some of your greatest breakthroughs did not come through your own planning, but through encounters you could not have arranged. That is the fingerprint of God. He delights in reminding us that He is the author, weaving people and places into our story with precision. And when these meetings happen, they leave no doubt that His hand is guiding your steps. This is the 10th sign that God is about to change your life. When you begin to experience encounters that feel too precise to be random, when doors open through people you never imagined meeting, it is not luck. It is God aligning you with destiny. The unlikely encounter is His way of showing that nothing in your journey is accidental, and that the connections you need for the next chapter are already prepared. When you recognize these moments, you realize you are not walking blindly. You are being led step by step into the very future He designed for you, the peace in the eye of the storm. There are seasons when life feels like a battlefield. Problems surround you on every side. Bills pile up, relationships strain, health weakens, and uncertainty presses in. By all logic, you should be overwhelmed. Yet in the very center of the storm, you find something unexplainable. A calm that doesn't match the chaos, a stillness that doesn't bow to fear. This is the peace in the eye of the storm, a supernatural sign that God Himself is holding you steady, while everything else shakes. This peace is not denial of reality. It does not pretend the storm is less violent than it is. It faces the winds, the waves, and the darkness, but refuses to be swallowed by them. It is the quiet confidence that even though you don't know how this will end, you know who is with you in the middle of it, and that assurance silences panic. The situation may not have changed yet, but you have changed within it. Your heart is anchored and your spirit is unshaken, because you sense that God is present in ways words cannot explain. This kind of peace cannot be learned in calm seasons. It is forged in crisis. It is when everything around you collapses that you discover a strength not your own. The peace in the eye of the storm is not something you produce. It is something you receive. It comes from the Spirit of God filling you with His presence, whispering into your heart, "Do not fear, I am with you." That whisper is louder than the thunder. It steadies your breath when everything else would leave you gasping. Many will not understand this peace. Friends may wonder why you are not panicking. Family may question how you can still smile when so much is uncertain. But you know the secret. Peace is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of Christ.
He is the one who once calmed the sea with a word, and He is the same one calming your soul now. The storm may rage outside, but within you, His voice commands stillness. This peace is also a shield. Fear weakens, but peace strengthens. Anxiety clouds vision, but peace clears perspective. Panic paralyzes, but peace empowers you to act with wisdom. While others are consumed by the storm, you can navigate through it with clarity, because you are not driven by fear. You are led by the calm assurance that your steps are guided. That is why this peace is not only comfort, but strategy. It gives you the strength to endure and the vision to see what others miss in the chaos. If you are experiencing this peace right now, do not take it lightly. It is not natural. It is divine. It is a signal that God's hand is upon you in the very moment the enemy thought would break you. And if you are longing for this peace, know that it is available. It is not earned by striving, it is received by trusting. Trust that the God who holds the universe also holds you. Trust that the storm will not last forever, but His presence will. Trust that even if everything else fails, His promise remains unshaken. This is the 11th sign that God is about to change your life. When you discover peace in places that should have left you broken, when you feel calm in situations that should have drowned you, it is not human strength. It is divine assurance. The storm may not be over yet, but the peace in its eye is proof that God is already in control. And when the storm finally passes, you will not only survive, you will stand stronger, carrying the unshakable testimony that His peace truly surpasses all understanding. The birth of the new season. There comes a moment when you realize that the waiting, the losses, the silence, and the storms were not random. They were labor pains. Everything you endured was preparing you for a birth. The pressure, the stretching, the breaking, none of it was wasted. It was God bringing you to the threshold of a new season. You begin to notice that the weight of the past no longer clings to you in the same way. Old wounds lose their sting. Closed doors no longer trouble you. The very things that once defined you are now simply memories, because something new is rising from within. The birth of a new season is not quiet. It comes with signs you cannot ignore. Opportunities align in ways you never planned. Strength flows where weakness once lived. Joy begins to return like the dawn after a long night. You feel it in your spirit before you see it with your eyes. The shift has happened. Heaven has declared that the time for waiting has ended, and the time for living in the promise has begun. This is not imagination. It is fulfillment. What you prayed for in secret is now becoming reality in the open.
This birth carries both beauty and responsibility. Just as a newborn must be cared for, the new season requires stewardship. God does not bring you into a new place for comfort alone, but for purpose. The lessons of the past season now serve as the foundation for the future. The silence taught you to listen. The discomfort taught you to move. The acceleration taught you to trust His timing. The losses taught you to cling to Him. The chaos taught you to rely on His order. The mission gave you direction. The encounters gave you connections. The peace gave you strength. Now all of it comes together as preparation for the life you are called to live. In this season, you will see clarity where once there was confusion. You will walk in strength where once you felt weak. You will find doors open that you could not have forced with all your effort. And above all, you will sense a nearness of God that confirms you are exactly where He wants you to be. The birth of the new is not about luck or timing. It is about divine orchestration. Everything converges so that you can step into what He wrote for you, long before you even dreamed of it. Do not resist this birth out of fear of the unknown. Every ending you mourned has brought you here. Every loss you questioned was making space for this. Every storm you survived shaped you for the strength required now. The birth of the new season is not just a change in circumstances. It is a change in identity. You are no longer who you were when the journey began. You carry scars, yes, but they have become proof of survival. You carry wisdom, yes, but it has become guidance for the road ahead. You carry faith stronger than ever that will sustain you through whatever comes next. This is the 12th and final sign that God is about to change your life. When you sense that everything is converging, when the pieces of your story suddenly make sense, when you feel lighter, stronger, and more certain that you are stepping into a new chapter, it is because heaven has declared a shift. The birth of the new season has arrived. Embrace it, walk in it, and trust it. For the same God who brought you through the desert is the one leading you now into the promised land.